Welcome to Zoe Stories. My sister really wants me to be a girl. It began on an ordinary Saturday morning, or at least, that's how it looked from the outside. The world outside was calm, the sound of rain softly tapping against the window, but inside the quiet apartment, everything felt wrong. I sat on the edge of my bed, staring at the reflection in my mirror. The person staring back didn't feel like me anymore. Messy brown hair, tired eyes, and the faint shadow of someone trying too hard to pretend they had it all figured out. My name's Ethan, 24 years old, graphic designer by trade, introvert by nature. I lived alone most of the time, though lately my sister, Bella, had been staying with me after her breakup. We were close growing up, but ever since she moved back in, something about her energy felt different, sharp, curious, maybe even controlling. She had this way of noticing everything, from the way I folded my laundry to the times I shut my laptop too quickly when she walked by. She'd always been the confident one, the one who took the spotlight at family dinners, who knew how to make everyone laugh. I admired that confidence maybe too much. And then there was Isabella, my girlfriend for almost 2 years. She was gentle, artistic, and patient with me in a way no one else had been. She worked as a fashion student and always joked that she wished I'd let her experiment on me for her projects. She said it lightly, but every time she said it, a small chill ran through me. Because the truth was she didn't know. No one did. Not about the box I kept hidden under my bed. Not about the silky dress folded neatly inside it, or the pair of stockings I sometimes dared to wear when the apartment was dark and quiet. It wasn't something I planned or could even explain clearly. It started as curiosity, an innocent experiment, but it had turned into something deeper, something I didn't fully understand. When I wore those clothes, I felt calm. The noise in my head went quiet. The insecurity that followed me everywhere dissolved. I wasn't Ethan, the awkward guy who couldn't speak up. I became someone softer, freer, almost complete. But I couldn't let anyone find out. Especially not Isabella. She had dreams of us moving in together, maybe even getting married one day. And how could I explain to her that sometimes, when she wasn't home, I liked wearing her perfume, that her dresses, hanging neatly in the closet, whispered temptations I couldn't resist. The fear of being exposed haunted me every day. Still, I kept the secret. I told myself it was harmless, that I was in control. That illusion broke the night Bella found out. It started innocently enough. She knocked on my door late at night, holding a glass of wine and a smirk. "Ethan," she said, "you still up? I need to borrow your charger." I hesitated. The charger was on my desk, right next to the open box. I'd just been staring at the pink dress inside, lost in thought. Yeah, give me a sec," I said quickly, shoving the lid back on and sliding the box under the bed. But Bella had already stepped inside. Her eyes flicked to the floor, just a flash, but that was all it took. The silence stretched like a blade. "What's that?" she asked. My pulse spiked. "Nothing. Just old stuff." She crouched down before I could stop her. Fingers brushed the side of the box. She looked up at me, a curious, dangerous smile spreading across her lips. "Old stuff?" she repeated. "Mind if I take a look?" "Bella, don't." She lifted the lid. The dress caught the dim light like a secret trying to escape. For a second, she didn't say a word, just looked from the dress to me, then back again. And then she laughed. Not mockingly, almost with delight. "Oh my God, Ethan," she said softly. "I didn't know you had this side to you. I wanted to vanish." "It's not what it looks like," I muttered, but my voice betrayed me. Bella tilted her head, eyes glittering. "You mean you don't like dressing up? Because it kind of looks like you do." Her tone was playful, but I felt the walls closing in. "Please don't tell anyone," I said quickly. She smiled again, slower this time. "Relax. I won't." And then she said something that sent a chill through me. "In fact, I think we should have a little fun with this." I didn't understand what she meant then. But over the next few days, she started to joke more often about it, teasing me about my style, asking if I'd ever wondered how I'd look with makeup. At first, I ignored her, pretended it never happened. But Bella didn't forget. She never forgot. And deep down, I realized she wasn't judging me. She was curious. That curiosity scared me more than any threat of exposure ever could, because she wasn't planning to tell anyone. She was planning something else. Something I couldn't yet see, but would soon change everything. The morning after Bella's discovery, I woke up with a strange heaviness in my chest. It wasn't fear exactly, it was anticipation. Something had shifted between us overnight. I could feel it in the way she smiled at breakfast, in the way her eyes followed me as I poured my coffee. "So," she said casually, "how'd you sleep?" "Fine," I muttered, staring into my mug. "You sure? You seemed restless. Maybe thinking about last night?" My fingers tightened around the handle. "Can we not talk about that?" She shrugged, pretending to be innocent. "Sure. Just curious." But her smirk said otherwise. It wasn't just teasing anymore. Bella's words carried weight, like invisible strings she was learning to pull. I could feel her testing how far she could push, and the worst part was I didn't stop her. All day, I felt her presence everywhere, her perfume in the hallway, her laughter echoing from the living room. It was like the apartment had become smaller, her energy filling every corner. By afternoon, I couldn't focus on anything. I tried working on my design project, but my thoughts drifted. To the box under my bed, to the dress folded inside it, to Bella's voice saying, "You'd look cute in this." The line repeated like a loop in my head. Later that evening, Bella knocked on my door. "Hey, can I come in?" I hesitated. "Yeah." She stepped in, holding a makeup brush in one hand and a small palette in the other. "Okay, before you freak out," she said quickly, "I need your help." "With what?" She smiled. "I'm doing a makeup challenge for a college project. I need someone with good skin tone, and guess what? You're the lucky volunteer." I blinked. "Bella, no. I'm not doing that." "Oh, come on. You owe me," she said, crossing her arms. "Remember? I didn't tell anyone your little secret. The least you could do is sit still for 15 minutes. That word, secret, cut like a knife. "Fine," I said reluctantly. She clapped her hands. "Good boy." The next few minutes felt like slow motion. She tilted my chin up and started brushing foundation across my skin. Her touch was light, professional, but there was something deeper in her movements, control. Every stroke of the brush made me feel smaller, softer, and strangely exposed. "See? Not so bad," she murmured. "Your skin's perfect for this." I tried to joke. "You sound like a serial killer picking paint samples." She laughed. "Oh, please. If I were a serial killer, you'd be my favorite project." Her tone was teasing, but the words made my chest tighten. When she finished, she stepped back, biting her lip. "Wow. You clean up nicely." I glanced at the mirror and froze. She hadn't gone overboard, but the difference was shocking. My face looked softer. My cheekbones stood out subtly. My eyes looked brighter. "See," Bella whispered. "You've got potential." I didn't know what to say. My reflection looked both familiar and alien, a blurred version of me that I didn't know existed. And deep down, beneath the embarrassment, a spark of excitement flickered. "All right, that's enough," I said quickly, trying to wipe it off. Bella grinned. "Fine. But admit it, you liked it a little." I didn't. She leaned closer, whispering, "You don't have to lie to me, Ethan." Her tone sent shivers down my spine. That night, after she went to bed, I couldn't stop thinking about that look she gave me, the way her eyes had scanned me like an artist studying her canvas. I got up, heart pounding, and turned on the dim lamp by my desk. The makeup wipes still sat where she'd left them, next to the brush and palette. Before I knew it, I was sitting there, doing what she'd done, dabbing foundation on my cheek, tracing the lines she'd drawn. It wasn't perfect, but it was enough. Enough to see something shift again in the mirror. And that's when I made a mistake. I reached for the box under the bed. I didn't plan to, it just happened. The sound of the drawer sliding open felt louder than it should have. My fingers brushed against the fabric, soft, delicate, forbidden. I held the dress up to my chest, watching how it looked against my skin. And for the first time, instead of shame, I felt peace. But that peace shattered the second the door creaked open. Couldn't sleep? Bella's voice was soft, amused. I jumped. It's not what it looks like. She leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. Relax, Ethan. You don't have to explain. I froze. Her expression wasn't mocking, it was calculating. She stepped closer, her eyes flicking from the dress to my face. You know, if you're going to do it, at least do it right. What are you talking about? I whispered. Tomorrow, she said simply. I'll help you. Then she turned and walked away, leaving me standing there in stunned silence, clutching the dress against my chest. Sleep never came that night. All I could think about was her voice, calm, certain, in control. And something told me she wasn't joking anymore. The next morning, I woke up to the smell of coffee and the faint sound of humming. Bella was already in the kitchen, wearing an oversized shirt and tying her hair up. She looked too cheerful for someone who'd just threatened my sanity the night before. Morning, sleepyhead, she said brightly. We've got a busy day ahead. I rubbed my eyes, pretending not to understand. Busy doing what? She raised an eyebrow. Don't play dumb. You remember what I said last night? My stomach dropped. Bella, you were joking. Her smile didn't waver. Was I? She poured 2 cups of coffee, sliding one toward me. Look, you've been hiding for so long. Maybe it's time you see what it feels like to stop pretending. I'm not. Save it, she interrupted softly, her tone oddly gentle. You don't have to justify it to me, Ethan. I saw the way you looked in the mirror. You didn't hate it. You looked alive. Her words sank into me like quicksand. She wasn't wrong. I had felt something that night. But hearing her say it made it too real. Come on, she said, setting her cup down. Let's make today interesting. I followed her into the living room, every step feeling heavier than the last. She had already set things up, an open makeup kit, a few hangers of clothes laid neatly across the couch, and even a small mirror propped on the table. What is all this? I asked. She turned, brushing a strand of hair from her face. A little experiment. You trust me, right? Did I? The logical answer was no. But she was my sister. She wasn't trying to hurt me. At least, that's what I told myself. Fine, I said finally. Just don't go overboard. She smiled. I'll be gentle. Those words shouldn't have made my pulse race, but they did. Bella started with foundation again, but this time, she worked slower, blending every inch of my skin like she was painting something precious. Her hands were confident, her focus unshakable. I could feel her breathing quietly, completely absorbed in her work. Look up, she murmured. I obeyed. Relax your lips. I did. Her fingers brushed lightly against my jaw. There. Perfect. The intimacy of it all was overwhelming. Every brush stroke made my skin tingle. Every glance she gave felt too deep, too knowing. When she was done, she stepped back and examined me. Almost there. She picked up a tube of lip gloss. Wait, that's too much, I protested. Sure, she said, tilting my chin up. Trust me. The cool gloss slid across my lips, smooth and fragrant. I could taste faint vanilla, sweet and unfamiliar. Okay, she whispered, looking satisfied. Now for the outfit. I froze. Bella. No arguments. You agreed. She handed me a neatly folded bundle. I unfolded it to find a soft, powder blue blouse and a short skirt, simple, but undeniably feminine. Where did you even get these? I asked. She shrugged. Online. Don't worry, they're your size. I stared at the clothes, heart pounding. You actually planned this? Of course I did, she said, smiling. You think I improvised transformation days? The word transformation hit me like lightning. You can change in the bathroom, she said softly. I'll wait. Inside the small bathroom, I stood there for a long time, staring at my reflection. The makeup made me look softer, almost delicate. The clothes trembled slightly in my hands, as if they knew how much weight they carried. I took a deep breath. Then another. Piece by piece, I put them on. The blouse was silky and cool against my skin. The skirt slid up my legs, snug but surprisingly comfortable. When I finally looked up, my reflection wasn't Ethan anymore. Not completely. It was someone between worlds, scared, fascinated, beautiful, and lost. I stepped out slowly. Bella turned, and for the first time, she didn't smirk or tease. She just looked. Her eyes softened. "Wow," she whispered. "You're stunning." I swallowed hard. "Stop saying things like that."
Why?
"It's true." She circled me slowly, like an artist admiring her masterpiece. "Spin around," she said. "What?" "Spin," she repeated, voice gentle but firm. I turned hesitantly. The skirt flared slightly, brushing against my thighs. It was such a small movement, but it sent a shock through me, a rush of something I didn't know how to name. When I stopped, she was still watching me, smiling faintly. "There," she said quietly. "Now you're starting to see it too." "See what?" I whispered. "The girl you've been hiding," she replied. Her words landed like a confession I wasn't ready for. I looked at her, then back at the mirror. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Finally, I managed, "Bella, this is crazy." "I can't." She reached out and touched my hand, stopping me. "You can. You already have." That touch lingered, too long, too warm, before she stepped back and smiled again. "Let's keep this between us, okay?" she said softly. "For now." I nodded slowly, still dazed. She leaned close, whispering, "Tomorrow, we'll go a little further." When she finally left the room, I sat down on the edge of my bed, trembling. My heart was racing, but it wasn't just fear anymore. It was something deeper, the terrifying realization that I didn't want to stop. I stared at my reflection one last time before changing back. And though I didn't say it out loud, I knew the truth. Bella wasn't just helping me explore something I'd hidden. She was slowly taking control of it. And I didn't know if I could stop her, or if I even wanted to. The next morning felt strangely quiet. The air in the house carried an unspoken tension, the kind that made every sound feel louder than it should. Plates clinking, footsteps echoing down the hallway, each noise tugged at his nerves. Ever since that night in the mirror, something inside him had changed. It wasn't just a fleeting curiosity anymore. It was becoming real. He caught himself staring at his reflection again, but this time he didn't flinch. The soft traces of mascara he hadn't fully washed away the night before made his eyes look brighter, more alive. He traced his jawline, imagining it softened by makeup again. His sister's voice from the kitchen broke his trance. "Breakfast is getting cold," she called, cheerful but with a tone that always carried a hint of mischief. He hesitated, then went downstairs. She was already sitting at the table, scrolling through her phone, wearing a loose pink sweater and leggings. He couldn't help but notice. She always looked effortlessly put together, confident in a way he never managed. She looked up. "Rough night." He nodded. "Didn't sleep much." She said, raising an eyebrow. "Thinking about what we talked about." He froze. What do you mean?" "Oh, come on," she said, smiling. "You know what I mean."
The dress.
"The mirror. The way you looked at yourself." He tried to laugh it off. "You're crazy." But she leaned forward. "Maybe. But I'm not wrong." He didn't reply. He could feel the heat rising to his face. She studied him for a moment, then smiled softly. "Look, I'm not judging you. Honestly, I think it's kind of brave. Most people wouldn't even dare to try. You looked comfortable. Almost happy." He swallowed hard. Her words hit deeper than he expected.
Happy.
Was that what he felt? It was hard to admit, but yes, something about that moment had felt freeing. For once, he hadn't been pretending to be someone else. She changed the topic casually, as if sensing his discomfort. "I'm meeting some friends later," she said, standing up. "But before that, I want you to do something for me." He looked wary. "What now?" She grinned. "Just help me test a few things for my makeup tutorial. Nothing major." He sighed but agreed. Helping her film tutorials wasn't new, but he had no idea what she really had planned. An hour later, He was sitting on her vanity stool as she laid out brushes, powders, and lipsticks. She turned on the camera, adjusted the light ring, and smiled at the lens. Hey guys. So today I'm trying something new, a transformation look. But here's the twist, she said, looking into the camera. My lovely assistant here is going to be my model.
He blinked.
Wait, what? She grinned at him off camera. Relax, it's just for fun. No one's going to see this video unless you say yes. He hesitated, but before he could protest, she dabbed foundation onto his cheek. The brush felt soft, ticklish. She worked quickly, expertly blending, contouring, shading. The familiar boy in the mirror began to fade again.
See?
Not bad, she said as she applied eyeliner with a steady hand. Tilt your head up.
Good.
You've got nice lashes, you know that? He rolled his eyes, but his heart raced. The rhythm of her voice and the scent of her makeup, sweet and floral, pulled him deeper into the moment. When she finally finished, she stepped back and smiled proudly. Okay, open your eyes. He did and froze. The reflection staring back was shockingly beautiful. The same person, yet entirely different. His features had softened under her skilled hands. The lip gloss shimmered faintly under the light. His hair, styled loosely with waves, framed his face perfectly. His sister clapped her hands. I knew it. You totally pull it off. He tried to speak, but words failed him. The emotions tangled inside. Confusion, curiosity, excitement. She giggled. You're staring at yourself again. He laughed nervously. It's just weird. Weird good or weird bad? He hesitated. Weird good, I think. Then admit it, she teased. You like how you look? He looked away. Maybe a little. Her grin widened. Then I think we need to go one step further. He turned sharply. What do you mean? She opened her closet dramatically. Outfit time. He stared as she pulled out skirts, blouses, and dresses, each one more daring than the last. No way, he said. You can't be serious. Oh, I'm completely serious. She tossed a soft blue dress into his hands. Try this one. It'll fit you. He shook his head. I'm not doing this. But she crossed her arms, smirking. You said it looked weird good, remember? Just humor me once. If you hate it, I'll drop it forever. He hesitated. His heart raced. The thought of wearing it both terrified and thrilled him. Slowly, he took the dress and disappeared into the bathroom. Inside, he stood frozen before the mirror, clutching the fabric. His reflection looked back, half made, half hidden. The makeup was still perfect, but now came the final step. He slipped the dress over his head. The material was cool and light, sliding smoothly against his skin. It fit better than he expected, almost like it was made for him. He adjusted the straps, smoothing the wrinkles. For a moment, he just stood there, staring at the person in the mirror. His heart thumped louder. The boy he knew so well seemed to vanish, replaced by someone else entirely. Someone confident, graceful,
Free.
When he stepped out, his sister gasped.
See?
I told you. He blushed furiously. This is insane. No, she said softly. This is you. Her words hung in the air like a spell. He wanted to deny it, but deep down, he knew there was truth in them. Let's take one photo, she said, holding up her phone. No way. Just one.
For us.
No posting. Reluctantly, he nodded. She snapped a picture. But what neither of them noticed was that her phone was still connected to her cloud, and someone else had access to those photos. Someone who wasn't supposed to see. And that was the beginning of everything that would go wrong. The day after their experiment, he couldn't focus on anything. Every time he closed his eyes, that image returned. The one in the mirror. The person he had seen wasn't just a version of himself in makeup. It felt deeper than that, almost like looking at a hidden truth he had buried for years. He tried to push the thoughts away as he went about his morning. Coffee, scrolling through messages, checking work emails. But nothing worked. His sister's voice from down the hall jolted him back to reality. Hey, come here for a second. He hesitated, remembering how yesterday had spiraled. Still, curiosity won. He stepped into her room and froze. She was sitting at her desk, her phone in hand, an unreadable expression on her face. "Something wrong?" he asked, trying to sound casual. She turned the screen toward him. It was a photo, the one she had promised to keep private. Except now, it had a notification banner above it. Isabella commented, "Who's this? She's gorgeous." His blood ran cold. "Wait, how did she?" "I don't know," his sister said quickly, eyes wide. "I swear I didn't post it anywhere. It must have synced automatically." He felt his chest tighten. "You mean my girlfriend saw it?" "She doesn't know it's you," his sister tried to reassure him. "I mean, she just thinks it's some girl." "That's not the point," he snapped, panic rising in his throat. "What if she finds out?" His sister bit her lip. Okay. We'll fix this. Just stay calm." But calm was impossible. He paced the room, heart pounding, mind racing. Every scenario that came to mind ended in disaster. Isabella confronting him, laughing at him, or worse, walking away without a word. His sister reached for his arm gently. "Listen, I can take it down. But you need to think about something." He looked at her warily. "What? Why are you so afraid?" She said it was gorgeous. She clearly liked what she saw. He frowned. "You're missing the point." "Am I?" she challenged. "Because maybe what you're afraid of isn't her reaction. Maybe it's yours." He stared at her, unable to respond. She wasn't entirely wrong. A part of him did feel something else beneath the fear, a spark of excitement, even pride. But he couldn't admit that. Not yet. That night, Isabella called. His hands trembled as he picked up. "Hey," he said, voice tight. "Hey you," she replied cheerfully. "So, random question. Your sister posted a picture earlier. Who's that girl? She looks kind of familiar." He swallowed hard. "Oh, I think she was just testing her camera or something. Maybe a filter?" Isabella said, amusement in her tone. "Because honestly, she looks a lot like you." His heart stopped. "Like me?" "Yeah," she said, laughing lightly. "Same eyes, same jawline. It's weird, right?" He forced a laugh.
Yeah.
"Weird." There was a pause on the line, a silence that stretched longer than it should have. Then Isabella spoke again, her voice softer. "You know, if it was you, I wouldn't be mad." He blinked. "What do you mean?" "I mean, I think people should do what makes them happy," she said. "Even if it's unconventional." Her words hung in the air like a lifeline, and for a moment, he wanted to confess everything. The makeup, the dress, how it made him feel. But fear clamped his throat shut. Instead, he said, "You're sweet, but yeah, it wasn't me." She sighed softly. "All right.
Just know you can tell me anything, okay?"
He murmured something vague and ended the call. But the guilt weighed heavy on him afterward. She had given him an opening, and he'd closed it. Later that night, he stood before the mirror again, unable to resist. His sister had gone to bed. The house was quiet. He opened her closet, fingertips brushing over the fabrics until he found the blue dress again. He hesitated, then slipped it on. The sensation was electric. Every motion, every sound, felt amplified. His pulse drummed in his ears as he stood before the mirror, the same reflection that haunted him since that day. Only this time he whispered, "Who are you really?" The girl in the mirror didn't answer, but he could almost feel her smile. He experimented with light touches of makeup, a soft blush, lip tint, and just enough mascara to bring back the same spark. When he was done, he stared again, frozen between two worlds. That was when he heard it, the faint creak of a door. His heart leapt. Footsteps. He panicked, rushing to grab makeup wipes, tugging at the zipper of the dress, fumbling like his hands didn't work. But before he could escape, the door opened. His sister stood there, blinking sleepily, and then smiling. "You couldn't resist, huh?" He froze. It's not what it looks like." "Oh, relax," she said, stepping into the room. "I kind of expected this." "You what?" I saw how you looked at yourself earlier. I knew you'd want to try again. She grinned mischievously. And, honestly, I'm glad you did. He buried his face in his hands. You're unbelievable. She gently pulled his hands down.
No.
You are. Look at you. You're beautiful. Her words hit harder than she probably realized. Something inside him cracked, the wall he had built for so long between who he was and who he could be. I don't even know why I'm doing this, he whispered. She smiled. Maybe you don't have to know yet. Maybe you just feel it. He looked at her, unsure what to say. For once, she wasn't teasing. She seemed genuine, even protective. Just promise me something, she said softly. Don't be afraid of yourself.
He nodded faintly.
But neither of them knew that someone else had already noticed the photo online. Someone who wasn't Isabella. Someone who was about to stir chaos neither of them expected. The following weekend arrived faster than he expected, but his mind wasn't ready. He had been living in quiet panic ever since the night his sister caught him red-handed. She hadn't told anyone, thankfully, but the thought of what could happen if the wrong person found out made his stomach churn. Yet despite all that fear, he couldn't stop thinking about her. The reflection in the mirror, the version of himself that felt more like home than the person he pretended to be every day. The way the blue dress hugged his body, the shimmer of gloss on his lips. It wasn't just play anymore. It was him, in a way he'd never dared to understand. But this weekend wasn't supposed to be about that. Isabella had invited him to a small get-together, just a few close friends, she said. She wanted to introduce him properly to her new circle, and that alone was enough to make his nerves hum. He stood before his closet, staring at the same old shirts and jeans, each one feeling wrong now. They felt heavy, dull, lifeless. His sister peeked into his room, smirking when she saw the blank expression on his face. Let me guess, she said, leaning against the doorframe. You have nothing to wear?
He sighed.
Not funny. She crossed her arms. Then don't wear that. Wear something that makes you feel like yourself. He turned. I can't. Isabella. Isabella likes that version of you too, she interrupted. Don't you remember what she said on the phone? He hesitated. He did remember. But he couldn't imagine showing up dressed like that, like her. Still, the way his sister said it stirred something reckless inside him. She must have seen it in his eyes, because her grin widened. How about this? What if we make it a game? You let me choose your outfit, just for fun. If you hate it, you change back immediately. He groaned. Why do your games always end with me embarrassed? Because my games make you honest, she teased. And before he could argue, she was already pulling him by the wrist toward her room. An hour later, he was standing in front of her mirror again, but this time it wasn't for a private test. It was real. The outfit she'd chosen wasn't as bold as before, it was subtle. A soft white blouse with delicate sleeves tucked into slim-fit jeans, a hint of gloss on his lips, and his hair styled loosely. He could almost pass for himself, almost. But there was something undeniably different now. Something that blurred the line between who he was and who he was becoming. I don't know, he muttered, tugging at the hem of the blouse. It feels too much. It's perfect, his sister said firmly. You look confident, relaxed, like you finally stopped hiding. He stared at his reflection. For the first time, he didn't flinch. Maybe she was right. Maybe hiding was the thing that made him miserable all along.
Fine, he sighed.
But if this blows up in my face, you're explaining it to Isabella. His sister smirked.
Deal.
The party started around 7. Isabella greeted him at the door with a bright smile, wrapping her arms around him. You made it, she said, pulling him in. You look different. In a good way. His throat tightened. Thanks, he said quietly. Her friends were already scattered around the living room, chatting, laughing, music humming in the background. He recognized a few faces from photos, but mostly felt out of place. He stuck close to Isabella, sipping from his drink, trying not to think about the outfit. But then, something strange happened. Instead of weird looks or teasing comments, people smiled. One of Isabella's friends, a tall girl named Marissa, leaned closer and said, Your style's really cute. Where'd you get that blouse? He blinked. Oh, it's my sister's. Marissa grinned. She's got great taste. It really suits you. His heart skipped a beat. Compliments weren't something he was used to, especially not for this. For a while, he almost forgot the fear. He laughed, talked, and even caught Isabella looking at him with a curious, almost admiring gaze. When the music slowed and people started dancing, she leaned in and whispered, "You seem different tonight. Happier." "Maybe I am," he said before he could stop himself. She smiled softly. "I like seeing you like this." And just like that, his heart warmed. Maybe things wouldn't fall apart after all. Maybe he could keep this secret safe. But as the night went on, fate had other plans. Around 9, his sister called. He stepped outside to answer, the music fading behind him. "Hey, what's up?" Her voice was tense. "We have a problem." His pulse quickened. "What kind of problem?" "The photo. Someone downloaded it before I deleted it. It's been shared." He froze. "What?" "I just got a message from a friend at your college. It's on a private group chat. People are saying it's you." The world seemed to tilt beneath him. He could barely breathe. "You're joking," he said weakly. "I wish I was. I'm trying to get it taken down, but it's spreading fast. Someone edited it with your name. They think it's hilarious." His knees nearly buckled. "Oh my God." "Just stay calm," she said quickly. "Don't tell Isabella yet. Let me handle it." But as he turned back toward the house, dread filled his chest, because Isabella was standing at the doorway, watching him. Her face was pale, her phone in her hand. "Why didn't you tell me?" she asked quietly. He froze. "Tell you what?" She stepped closer, holding out her phone. On the screen was the picture. The one from the makeup session. His face, clear as day. The comments underneath were already brutal. "Everyone's seen it," she whispered. "They're saying awful things. And you didn't think to warn me?" "I didn't want you to find out like this," he said, voice breaking. "It wasn't supposed to." "Is it true?" she interrupted. "Was that really you?" He wanted to run, to hide, but there was nowhere left to go. He nodded slowly. "Yes." Silence stretched between them, heavy and fragile. Finally, she whispered, "Why didn't you just tell me?"
"I was scared," he said.
"Scared you'd look at me differently." Her expression softened, but tears glimmered in her eyes. "I don't care how you dress," she said quietly, "but I do care that you lied." And with that, she turned and walked back inside, leaving him standing in the cool night air, his secret now exposed to the world. The next phase would not just test his identity. It would test who would stand by him and who would turn away. He didn't sleep that night. Not even a minute. The glow of his phone screen haunted him, message after message, notification after notification. Every time he closed his eyes, a new one appeared. "Yo, is this really you? Bro, what were you thinking? Did your girlfriend know?" The comments burned worse than fire. Some people laughed, others mocked, and a few sent cruel memes using his photo. That single image, the one moment he had felt free, was now a weapon in the hands of strangers. By morning, his name was trending in his college group chats. His friends had gone silent, and even his manager at work had sent a "we need to talk" message. But the worst part wasn't any of that. It was Isabella's silence. His sister tried to keep him calm, but her voice trembled too. "I'll fix this, I promise," she said, pacing the living room. "There has to be a way to make them stop sharing it." He sat on the couch, staring at nothing. "It's too late. Everyone's seen it." She stopped pacing and looked at him, eyes full of guilt. "This is my fault. I shouldn't have taken that photo." "Stop," he interrupted softly. "You didn't mean for this to happen." But the ache in his chest said otherwise. The sound of a knock startled them both. His stomach dropped when his sister peeked through the window. "It's Isabella." He froze. His heart hammered so loud, he thought she might hear it through the door. "Do you want me to tell her you're not here?" his sister whispered. He shook his head slowly.
"No."
"I have to face her." When he opened the door, Isabella stood there in a hoodie and jeans, her face pale and eyes red-rimmed. She looked like she hadn't slept either. "Can I come in?" she asked quietly. He nodded. They sat at the dining table, neither speaking for what felt like hours. Finally, she broke the silence. "I saw the comments," she said softly. "They're disgusting."
He winced. Yeah.
"You didn't deserve that." He looked up, surprised. "You're not mad?" She sighed. "I was. Not because of what you did, because you didn't trust me enough to tell me." He bit his lip. "I thought you'd leave me." Her gaze softened. "Do you really think so little of me?" "I didn't want to risk it," he said, his voice trembling. "That night when my sister helped me, I didn't plan it. Something felt right for once. I don't know what that means yet. But now it's all ruined. Everyone's laughing. I'm a joke." She reached across the table, taking his hand. "You're not a joke. You were just being yourself. And, honestly, that's brave." The words nearly broke him. He blinked rapidly, fighting back tears. "Then why does it hurt so much?" "Because the world's cruel," she whispered. "But that doesn't make you wrong." For the first time since the photo went viral, he exhaled, a shaky, fragile breath. Maybe she didn't hate him after all. But peace was short-lived. Later that afternoon, his phone buzzed again. This time it wasn't a text, it was a call from an unknown number. "Don't answer," his sister warned. But something about it made him swipe anyway. "Hello." A low male voice crackled through the line. "So, it is you." His blood ran cold. "Who is this?" "You don't know me," the man said, "but I know what you are. And I know how to make sure everyone else remembers it too." "What are you talking about?" "See, people forget things fast online," the voice continued. "But I've got the full video your sister recorded during her little makeup tutorial. You two didn't think I'd find it in her cloud, huh?" His knees went weak. "You're lying." "Oh, I'm not," the voice said smoothly. "It's a good video too, close-ups, full transformation, everything. If you want it to stay private, you'll do exactly what I say." He felt his pulse thunder. "What do you want?" A dark chuckle. "Oh, nothing much. Just entertainment. You're going to post a new video of yourself, wearing that same dress, that same makeup. And you're going to say it's your true self. If you don't, I'll leak the video everywhere." The line went dead. He stood frozen, the phone still pressed to his ear. His sister rushed over when she saw his expression. "What happened?" He looked at her, his voice barely a whisper. "Someone hacked your cloud." Her face drained of color. "No. He has the video," he said, trembling. "He said he'll leak it unless I post a new one myself."
What?
"That's blackmail." "I know," he shouted, panic taking over. "But what am I supposed to do? If he posts it, it'll never go away." His sister's hands shook as she grabbed her laptop. "I can try tracing the IP. Maybe we can figure out who it is." "No," he said, pacing. "If we do anything, he might leak it faster." They fell into silence, both realizing the trap they were in. He sank onto the couch, burying his face in his hands. "He wants me to expose myself again like it's some twisted punishment." His sister looked at him for a long time, then said quietly, "Or maybe it's a chance." He lifted his head. "What?" She took a deep breath. "What if you turn this around? What if you post something first, on your terms? Not because he said so, but because you choose to. Then his power is gone." He stared at her, disbelief and fear warring in his chest. "You want me to admit it publicly?" "I want you to own it," she said. "He can't blackmail someone who's not hiding." He shook his head, standing. "You don't get it. I'll lose everything. My job, my reputation, Isabella." "You might lose all that anyway," she said firmly. "But you'll keep yourself." Her words cut deep, and for a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then, quietly, he said, "Give me the blue dress." His sister blinked. "Are you sure?" He nodded slowly. "If I'm going down, I'm doing it as me." That night, he stood in front of the mirror one more time. His hands trembled as he applied the makeup, his reflection watching silently. It wasn't just a disguise anymore. It was a declaration. The camera light blinked on. His sister hit record. He took a deep breath. "Hi," he began, voice shaking. "I know a lot of you have seen a picture of me. And yeah, that's me. I never meant to hide it, but I was scared. Scared of what people would think. Scared of losing people I love. But not anymore. His sister smiled faintly from behind the camera, tears glistening in her eyes. He looked straight into the lens. If being myself makes me a joke, then I guess I'll laugh too. He ended the recording. Silence filled the room. But the real storm hadn't even begun. Because less than an hour later, the hacker called again. The next few weeks blurred into a strange, glittering dream. Every morning began with my sister tugging open the curtains, sunlight pouring over my bed like a spotlight on stage. "Rise and shine, pretty girl," she'd sing, tossing a bundle of clothes my way, skirts, blouses, stockings, and sometimes even lace-trimmed lingerie. At first, I thought she'd get bored eventually, that she'd move on to some other project. But no, her determination grew stronger. She wasn't just turning me into a girl for fun anymore. She was molding me into someone new. She controlled my schedule, makeup lessons, posture correction, skincare routines, even how to walk in heels. And slowly, despite my silent resistance, I started doing things naturally. My hands moved gracefully when I talked. I caught myself checking my reflection more often, brushing my hair behind my ear like it was second nature. It wasn't just about pretending anymore. I was starting to become what she saw. One afternoon, she brought me into her room again, laying out a soft pastel dress on the bed. "We're going out," she said casually. I froze. "Out? Like, outside?" "Yes, outside," she replied, smirking. "You've been practicing long enough. It's time people see how amazing you look." My heart pounded. "I'm not ready for that." She crossed her arms, looking at me with that same mix of love and stubborn authority. "You are. Trust me." Against every instinct, I let her zip me into the dress. It fit too well, hugging my frame in all the right places. The mirror reflected someone delicate, confident, and almost happy. She handed me a purse, then took my arm. "Just a walk downtown. No one's going to know." But as we stepped outside, every sound, every passing car, every whisper of wind felt amplified. My steps were small and cautious, my pulse racing like a drumline. People walked by, no one gave a second glance. Some even smiled politely. No one saw a boy in disguise. They saw a girl. Something inside me shifted. That walk turned into lunch. Then a shopping trip. Then a coffee date with her friends who, shockingly, thought I was her cousin from another city. They complimented my hair, my outfit, my voice. When one of them said, "You two really look like sisters," my sister grinned and replied, "We are." I didn't correct her. I couldn't. That night, when I looked at myself again, it hit me, she'd done it. I'd crossed some invisible line between pretending and becoming. The boy I used to be was fading behind foundation and soft smiles. I should have felt panic, but all I felt was quiet confusion and a strange calm. A few days later, I found a sealed envelope on my desk. My name, or rather, her version of it, written in neat handwriting. Inside was a driver's license. My breath caught. It had my face fully feminine and a new name. A girl's name. "How?" I stammered as I confronted her in the living room. She just smiled, like she'd been waiting for this. "You needed a backup ID for emergencies. You're living this role so well, I figured it might come in handy." I couldn't speak. She stepped closer, placing her hands gently on my shoulders. "You don't have to fight it anymore. You've seen how natural it feels. How you fit into this world." I wanted to argue,
But my voice failed me.
because deep down, I had started to see what she saw, the grace, the beauty, the confidence I'd never had before. Still, part of me ached for who I used to be. Later that night, as I stood in front of the mirror, I whispered my old name to myself. It sounded foreign, distant. I whispered the new one, the one on the ID, and it flowed like it had always belonged to me. Was I losing myself or finding who I really was? The next morning, my sister knocked on my door. "Get ready," she said softly. "I have something to show you." I followed her out to the backyard. A small photo shoot setup gleamed in the sun. Lights, camera, a soft pink backdrop. "What's this?" I asked cautiously. Your transformation, she said. I want to capture it. The moment where you finally stop hiding. I wanted to refuse, but as she brushed a final touch of blush across my cheek, I saw tears glistening in her eyes. You've come so far, she whispered. You're beautiful. You've always been. You just didn't see it. Something inside me broke. I stepped in front of the camera, posed shyly at first, then with confidence. Each click of the shutter felt like a heartbeat, each flash sealing a new version of me into existence. When she showed me the pictures later, I couldn't believe it. The girl in the photos wasn't pretending. She was radiant.
Real.
And for the first time, I didn't see it as a lie. I saw it as freedom. But deep in my chest, a whisper of fear remained. What if this was never meant to end? What if I couldn't go back, even if I wanted to? And maybe I didn't want to. The photo shoot marked a turning point, but not the end. It was the day everything started to unravel. A week later, I came home to find my sister sitting at the dining table, a box of old photos spread around her. She looked up when I entered, her eyes red and puffy. It was the first time I'd seen her like that, fragile, lost. What's wrong? I asked, instinctively walking closer. She smiled weakly, brushing a strand of hair behind her ear. Do you remember her? She held up a photo, two little kids smiling at the camera. A boy and a girl, both wearing matching outfits. That's us, I said softly. She shook her head.
No.
That's me and her. For a second, I didn't understand. Then it hit me. She wasn't talking about me. She was talking about someone else. My twin, she whispered. You were too young to remember. She died when we were 6. The air froze. I felt a chill crawl up my spine. She looked just like you, my sister continued, voice trembling. Same eyes. Same smile. Sometimes, I'd look at you and see her. Especially when you started growing up. It hurt. I missed her so much I couldn't stand it. She swallowed hard, then looked straight at me. When I started changing you, when I saw you in her clothes, it was like she came back. For the first time in years, I didn't feel alone. I stepped back, my heart pounding. Everything made sense now. Her obsession, her insistence, her tears when she called me beautiful. It wasn't just about control. It was about loss. You try to bring her back, I whispered. She nodded slowly. I know it's wrong. I know I should have stopped. But every time I saw you smile like her, I felt like I had her again.
I didn't know what to say.
My throat tightened. I wanted to be angry, to scream, but how could I? The pain in her eyes was too real. For the first time, I saw the truth behind her madness. It was grief. Twisted, desperate, but still love. I sank into the chair opposite her. Why didn't you tell me? She shrugged, tears rolling down her cheeks. Because I thought you'd hate me. I thought you'd run away. And I couldn't lose you too. The silence that followed was heavy. My mind spun between two worlds, the boy I used to be and the girl she created. When I finally spoke, my voice was soft. You didn't lose her, not really. She'll always be a part of you. But you can't keep living in the past. Neither of us can. She reached across the table and took my hand, her grip trembling. Then who are you now? I hesitated. It should have been easy to say I'm your brother. But the words wouldn't come. Because somewhere along the way, I'd changed, not just in looks, but in spirit. I don't know, I admitted. But maybe that's okay. That night, I couldn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling, her confession replaying in my mind over and over. All the lessons, the clothes, the makeup, it wasn't just manipulation. It was a way of keeping her sister's memory alive. And I'd become that memory. When morning came, I got up quietly and went to the bathroom mirror. My reflection looked back, soft features, long lashes, silky hair framing my face. I tried to imagine the old me, but it was like recalling a dream. For the first time, I didn't see disguise or confusion. I saw someone who had survived both pain and transformation. I whispered, "Who are you really?" The answer that came wasn't my old name. It was the new one, and it felt right. Later that day, I found my sister outside, tending to the small garden she'd planted last year. She looked up when I approached, eyes still swollen from crying. "I'm not mad at you," I said quietly. "But we need to start over, as who we are now, not who we lost." She nodded slowly, wiping her hands on her dress. "I'd like that." She looked at me for a long time, really looked, and I saw both sadness and pride in her eyes. "You're not her," she said finally, "but you're still my sister." Her words hit deep. A strange warmth bloomed in my chest. Maybe she was right. Maybe this wasn't about being male or female anymore. It was about connection, healing, and identity. We spent the afternoon talking, really talking for the first time in years. About her loss, about my confusion, about the strange bond that had formed through all the chaos. By sunset, the air between us felt lighter. Before going to bed that night, I looked at the dress hanging by my closet, soft pink, the one from the photo shoot. I smiled faintly. It no longer felt like a costume. It felt like a choice. That's when I realized something. My sister hadn't just changed me. She'd freed a part of me that had been buried. Maybe this wasn't about pretending anymore. Maybe, somehow, she'd helped me find the person I was always meant to be. And as strange as it sounded, I didn't hate her for it. I loved her, because even through her grief and madness, she'd shown me who I could become. Still, one thought lingered in the back of my mind. If this version of me was real, what did that mean for everything I used to be? That question haunted me as I drifted off to sleep, unaware that the real test of identity was yet to come. Morning sunlight spilled through the curtains like a quiet confession. I woke up with my heart strangely calm, as if the storm had passed but left something new behind, a stillness, a fragile clarity. For the first time, I didn't rush to change back into him. I went to the mirror again and just stood there, staring at the reflection that no longer felt like an illusion. The girl staring back looked confident, poised, yet a little uncertain. It was me, not pretending, not playing me. My sister knocked lightly on the door. "Breakfast's ready," she called softly. When I stepped into the kitchen, she smiled at me, a genuine, peaceful smile.
"Morning," she said.
"Morning," I replied, my voice softer than usual. We ate quietly. No tension, no manipulation, no emotional games. Just silence, healing silence. But beneath that peace, a strange question stirred in me. What now? My sister looked up suddenly, as if she'd read my thoughts. "You don't have to hide anymore," she said gently. "Not from me." "But from the world?" I asked. She sighed. "The world doesn't always understand. But you don't owe them an explanation either." Her words settled into me like a seed. I wanted to believe her, that I could live like this without fear, without shame. But reality was heavier than hope. I still had friends who thought I was someone else, coworkers who'd never guess, neighbors who might whisper. And then there was Isabella. Just the thought of her name sent a shiver through me. I hadn't heard from her in weeks. After everything that happened, after the lies and secrets, I didn't even know what I'd say if she appeared again. But life has a cruel way of testing you when you least expect it. That evening, my phone buzzed. It was a message from Isabella.
"Hey,
I'm in town. Can we talk?" I froze. My heart started racing. I hadn't told her anything. She still thought I was the same person, the same boyfriend who disappeared behind excuses. My sister noticed my expression. "Who is it?" "Isabella." Her smile faded. "Are you going to see her?" I hesitated. "I think I have to." She nodded slowly, though I saw fear flicker behind her eyes. Fear of losing me again, of being left behind in her lonely world. I dressed carefully that night. Jeans, a soft blouse, a jacket, simple, neutral, not too revealing. I didn't want to scare Isabella, but I couldn't hide completely either. When I arrived at the small cafe, she was already there, waiting by the window. Her hair was tied back, her expression unreadable. When she saw me, she froze, confusion flashing across her face. "Hey," I said softly. She blinked, her gaze flicking over my outfit, my voice, my posture. "I almost didn't recognize you," she said slowly. "You look different." I smiled nervously. A lot's changed. She studied me for a long moment, her eyes searching for the person she once knew. Is this some kind of joke? She finally asked. No, I said firmly. It's not. Silence. Then she leaned back, folding her arms. Your sister told me something. That you've been going through a lot. That she made you do things. I felt a pang. It wasn't all her, I admitted. She started it, but somewhere along the way, I realized I didn't hate it. Her brow furrowed. You mean you like this? I swallowed. I don't know if like is the right word. It just feels right. Like I've stopped pretending to be someone I'm not. She stared at me for what felt like an eternity, and I braced myself for disgust, anger, anything. But instead, she sighed softly and looked down at her cup. I used to think I knew you better than anyone, she whispered. But maybe you never even knew yourself. Her words cut deep, but not in a cruel way. They were honest. I'm trying to, I said quietly. She finally looked up, her eyes softer. You know, when we were together, I always felt like you were holding something back. I just didn't know it was this. I smiled faintly. Neither did I. The air between us shifted. Not judgmental, not romantic, but real. Are you happy? She asked suddenly. I hesitated, thinking about everything. The fear, the confusion, the relief. Not yet, I admitted, but I'm closer than I've ever been. She nodded slowly, as if she understood. Then, to my surprise, she reached across the table and took my hand. Then I'm glad, she said softly, even if it's not what I imagined for you. Tears stung my eyes, but I blinked them away. We talked for hours, not about what went wrong, but about what came next. About healing, identity, forgiveness. When we finally said goodbye, she hugged me tightly and whispered, "Take care of her." For a moment, I didn't know who she meant, me or my sister. Maybe both. I walked home under the glow of streetlights, my mind a whirlwind of emotion. When I reached the door, my sister was waiting, worry etched on her face. She didn't hate me, I said softly. She actually understood. My sister smiled faintly. Then maybe the world isn't as cruel as we think. We stood there, two people forever changed by grief, guilt, and transformation, bound together by something strange and beautiful. But as I looked at her, I knew there was still one last test waiting, not from her, not from Isabella, but from the world beyond our quiet little house. The question that would define everything was coming next. Would I keep hiding, or would I finally live as the person I'd become? Days passed quietly after the meeting with Isabella, but I could feel something shifting, not just inside me, but around me. My sister and I no longer played the same game of control and denial. We were just learning to live. But the outside world wasn't as forgiving as the walls that kept us safe. One morning, I got a message from my old job. My manager wanted me to return to the office to discuss a possible reinstatement. I hadn't been there in months. I almost said no, but something inside whispered that I needed to go. My sister hesitated when I told her. Are you sure? She asked. They'll notice. You're not the same. I smiled faintly. That's the point. I dressed carefully, a neat blouse, fitted trousers, minimal makeup. Enough to feel like myself without inviting stares. My hands trembled as I applied lipstick, the same soft shade my sister used to insist on. For the first time, I wore it because I wanted to. When I stepped out, she stopped me at the door. You don't have to prove anything to them, she whispered. I'm not, I said. I'm proving it to myself. The bus ride was nerve-wracking. I felt every glance, every whisper. Maybe some were just in my head, maybe not. The world outside hadn't changed. I had. And that made me both proud and terrified. When I entered the office, conversations paused. A few familiar faces turned toward me, eyes widening, mouths half open. Hey, is that? No way. I felt heat rise to my cheeks but kept walking. Each step felt heavier than the last. My manager, Mr. Clark, looked up as I entered his office. He blinked twice, clearly taken aback. I almost didn't recognize you, he said, trying to sound casual. I guess I've changed a bit, I said softly. He cleared his throat. You could say that. He shuffled some papers awkwardly. Listen, we've had good reports about your past work. If you're ready to return, we can find a position that fits. I blinked. You mean like this? He hesitated. We don't discriminate here, as long as you're comfortable. For a moment, I just stared at him. I'd expected rejection, discomfort, maybe mockery, not quiet acceptance. Thank you, I said, my voice breaking slightly. As I left his office, I caught sight of my reflection in the glass window, confident posture, soft smile, someone who didn't need to hide anymore. But peace never lasts long in stories like mine. That evening, as I walked home, a familiar car slowed beside me. Isabella. She rolled down the window, smiling. Need a ride? I hesitated, then nodded and climbed in. The car smelled like old perfume and war memories. I wanted to see how you were doing, she said. You seemed a lighter the other night. I admitted. For the first time, I'm not pretending. She glanced at me, eyes soft. You know, I was angry at first. I felt like I'd lost you. But maybe I didn't. Maybe I just never saw the real you. Her words hit me deeply. I looked out the window, watching the city lights blur. Sometimes I think I didn't see myself either, I murmured. She smiled faintly. So what now? I turned toward her. Now I live. We laughed quietly, not the bitter laughter of guilt or pain, but something pure and free. When she dropped me off, she reached over and touched my hand gently. You're brave, she whispered. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. I smiled. Thank you, Isabella. As her car drove away, I turned toward my house, heart warm and heavy all at once. But when I reached the porch, something felt off. The front door was slightly open. I froze.
Sis.
I called out. No answer. I pushed the door gently and stepped inside. The living room lights were still on. Everything looked normal, except the coffee table, where a single photograph lay face up. It was the same picture from before, my sister's lost twin. Only this time, something was written on the back. My hands shook as I flipped it over. The handwriting was shaky, but familiar. Thank you for bringing her back. But now I have to find myself. Panic surged through me. I ran to her room, empty. Her closet open, her suitcase gone. No, I whispered. Not again. I sank to the floor, clutching the photo to my chest. She'd left. After everything, after healing, confession, forgiveness, she'd just disappeared. Hours passed. I sat there in silence, replaying her words in my mind. Find myself. Maybe she finally realized she couldn't heal while living through me. Maybe she needed to let go completely. Tears rolled down my cheeks, but they weren't just from sadness. They were from understanding. For the first time, I saw her decision not as abandonment, but as release for both of us. I stood up slowly and walked to the mirror. The reflection that looked back wasn't just her lost sister, or the person I used to be. It was something entirely new, someone made from both grief and love. A voice echoed in my mind, hers, whispering from memory. You're not her, but you're still my sister. And for the first time, I said it out loud. I am. Outside, the sky began to rain softly. It felt cleansing, as if the world was washing away the remnants of my old self. I closed my eyes, whispering to the air.
Goodbye, sis.
Wherever you are, thank you. When I opened them again, I smiled through the tears. Because this wasn't the end. It was the beginning of living as myself, not as someone's shadow or creation. But just as I turned off the lights and headed toward the door, a faint knock echoed from outside. 3 slow taps. My heart skipped a beat. I froze. Could it be? The story cuts off there, leaving the audience on edge, wondering who's behind the door. My sister? Isabella again? Someone else who's discovered the truth? For days, the house felt like a silent movie. Just gestures, glances, and muffled emotions. But inside me, everything was screaming. I wanted to understand why this had happened. Why my sister wanted this so badly. Why she looked at me with that strange, conflicted sadness every time I passed her. One night, as I sat in front of the mirror brushing my long hair, I noticed something strange, an old photo frame lying face down behind her dresser. When I picked it up, I froze. It was us as kids, but next to me, there was another girl. A girl who looked almost like my sister, but not quite. On the back, in faded ink, was written, "For my beautiful twin, forever in my heart." My mind went blank. I stumbled backward, clutching the photo.
Twin? I didn't have a twin.
That couldn't be right. But the more I looked, the more I realized the other girl in the picture looked just like me. When my sister came in, she froze too. Her face drained of color. She tried to grab the frame, but I pulled it away. "What is this?" I asked, voice trembling. Her eyes filled with tears. "You weren't supposed to see that," she whispered. "Who is she?" She sank onto the bed, staring at the floor. "Her name was Lily," she said softly. "My twin. She died when we were kids." I blinked, trying to process. "You had a twin? And she looked like me?" She nodded slowly, her voice breaking. "After she died, Mom couldn't handle it. She erased everything. Every photo, every memory. We weren't allowed to talk about her. But I never forgot. You reminded me of her so much growing up. The way you smiled, the way you tried to protect me when we were little." I felt the air leave my lungs. My heart ached. So, all this, I gestured at my reflection, my clothes, my face, was because of her? Tears streamed down her cheeks. "I just wanted her back," she sobbed. "When you started helping me with makeup and clothes, it felt like Lily was here again. I didn't want to lose that feeling. I didn't mean to hurt you." Her words tore through me. I wanted to be angry, to shout, to hate her for what she'd done. But I couldn't. All I saw was a broken girl, clinging to a memory she'd buried for years. I sat down beside her, silent for a long moment. Then, quietly, I said, "You should have told me." "I thought you'd think I was crazy," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. I shook my head. "You're not crazy. You're just lost." We sat together for a while, just breathing. Then she reached out, hesitating before touching my hand. "You can go back to being you," she said finally. "I'll stop everything. You don't have to do this anymore." I looked at my reflection again. The soft features, the delicate curves, the girl who stared back at me like she was no longer a stranger. I didn't know when it happened, but somewhere along the way, this version of me had started to feel real. "Maybe I don't want to," I whispered. My sister's eyes widened. "What do you mean?" "I don't know," I admitted, my heart pounding. At first, it was terrifying. I hated every second. But now, I feel like I've learned who I really am. Or maybe who I could be. I'm not saying I'm her. I'm not Lily. But maybe I don't have to go back to pretending either. She looked at me for a long time, tears glistening in her eyes. Then she smiled, a sad, genuine smile. "You're still my sibling," she said softly. "No matter what." The next morning, we went to the old family attic. Dust coated everything. Boxes piled high, filled with forgotten pieces of the past. Together, we opened the one marked Lily. Inside were clothes, toys, letters, memories frozen in time. My sister held up a small pink ribbon. "She used to wear this every day," she murmured. Then, slowly, she tied it around my wrist. "Not because I want you to be her," she said, voice trembling, "but because I think she'd be proud of you." Something inside me shifted, like a weight lifting, replaced with something fragile but warm. I didn't know who I was yet, not completely. But for the first time, I wasn't afraid to find out. We spent hours talking that day, about her, about me, about the strange path that had brought us here. There were no more secrets between us. Only truth, raw and painful, but real. That night, when I looked in the mirror again, I didn't see confusion. I didn't see fear. I saw a new beginning. Someone shaped by love, loss, and identity, standing on the edge of becoming whole. And for the first time in a long while, I smiled. Morning sunlight spilled through the window, soft and golden, wrapping everything in warmth. For the first time in months, it didn't feel heavy or blinding. It felt like peace. The kind of peace that comes after the storm finally ends. I stood in front of the mirror again, brushing my long hair. The same mirror that once terrified me, that once reflected someone I swore I wasn't. But now that reflection smiled back. Familiar, gentle, real. My sister walked in quietly, holding 2 cups of tea. "You're up early," she said with a small smile. "Couldn't sleep," I admitted. "Too much on my mind." She sat on the bed, watching me with soft eyes. "You look different," she said after a moment. I turned toward her. "Different good, or different bad?" "Different you," she said simply. "Like you finally know who that is." Her words hit deep. I had spent so long fighting every change, my face, my voice, the way I moved. But now I realized those weren't just surface-level changes. They had peeled back layers I'd been hiding behind all along. The walls I built to fit into a version of myself that never quite felt right. After everything that happened, I had a choice, to go back to who I was or to move forward. And every part of me, heart and soul, whispered the same answer. Forward. I put on the outfit she'd made me a few weeks ago, a soft blouse and a pleated skirt. I used to feel ridiculous in it. Now it felt like armor made of truth. We went outside together that day. For the first time, I wasn't hiding. The world didn't collapse. No one pointed or stared. The air felt lighter, the sky bluer. As we walked, my sister nudged me. "You know," she said, "if you ever want to go back to how things were, I'll support that too." I looked at her and smiled. "I know, but I think I'm ready to start something new." Later that afternoon, I went back to the campus. My heart pounded as I walked through familiar hallways that suddenly felt foreign. A few people stared, some out of confusion, others out of curiosity. But I didn't flinch. In the art room, my professor looked up, startled. "Oh, you're back," she said. I nodded nervously. "Yeah, it's been a while." Her eyes softened as she looked at me. "You've changed." I smiled faintly. "Yeah, I think I needed to." She gestured to the easel by the window. "Then show me what that change looks like." For hours, I painted. Every stroke felt like letting go of something old, anger, guilt, confusion, and painting something honest in its place. When I finished, I stepped back and looked at what I'd made, 2 figures, side by side, holding hands in a field of light. One was me, as I used to be. The other was who I'd become. My professor said softly, "That's beautiful." "It's us," I said quietly. "The person I was and the person I am now. Both real. Both part of me." When I came home that evening, my sister was waiting. "How did it go?" she asked. I handed her the painting. She stared at it for a long time, eyes glistening. "She'd be proud," she whispered. "Lily would be proud." I hugged her tightly. For the first time, we weren't pretending anymore. There were no lies, no games, no guilt. Just love. Over the next few weeks, things slowly fell into place. I started living as myself, fully, confidently. I changed my name on my art portfolio. People began to accept it. And the strange thing? I realized they probably would have all along if only I had accepted myself first. One evening, I went back to that old photo of Lily. I set it beside a new picture of me and my sister, both smiling. I whispered softly, "Thank you." Not to replace her, not to become her, but to honor her. Because in some strange way, losing Lily had brought both of us to who we were meant to be. And when I looked in the mirror one last time that night, I didn't see the boy I used to be, or the girl I had become against my will. I saw me. Someone whole. Someone brave. Someone who finally understood that being forced into change doesn't mean losing yourself. It can mean finding the parts of you that were always waiting to be seen. My sister called from the doorway, smiling.
"Come on," she said.
"Dinner's ready, and I'm not letting you skip it again." I turned, laughing. All right, I'm coming." As I walked toward her, I caught my reflection in the hallway mirror one more time. The girl looking back at me wasn't a disguise anymore. She was a story of survival, forgiveness, and self-discovery. And for the first time in my life, I whispered the truth aloud, words that felt like both an ending and a beginning. I'm exactly who I'm meant to be.